coming from those two and then going to a school like Lindenwood, I don't think that I would have had the success that I did at Lindenwood if it wasn't for the confidence and the winning mentality that these two organizations gave me.
Welcome to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that puts you right in the heart of women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and each week I'm on a mission to showcase the incredible women who are lighting up the ice across the globe. Get ready as I chat with rising stars, seasoned pros, and all the game changers making waves in the world of women's hockey that you won't find anywhere else. So, let's dive into the exciting world of women's hockey and make sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. Welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, your go-to podcast for everything women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Morgan Neitzke, a forward with Lindenwood University. Morgan, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good. How are you? I'm really glad that you had me on here. It's quite a pleasure to do these podcasts and stuff, put your name out there and just kind of share a different experience that so many other people, don't get to do.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that's exactly what this is all about. This is all about talking. Yes, we're going to talk about hockey, but this gives everyone an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you. And that's
Right.
What's really exciting about it. You're more than just the great production on the ice. And we're going to find out more as this conversation progresses. And we're going to start where it all started for you. Obviously, there's no better place to start than what it was about hockey that drew you in. Tell us about your origin story.
Well, so actually growing up, when we were younger and stuff, my dad, nobody in my family really played hockey. My dad started picking it up as he got out of high school, just playing men's league and stuff. And we really don't have much of any hockey background in my family at all, really. And for some reason, my dad decided we were going to get on the rink and start playing. We literally have pictures of us riding or on the ice with bicycle helmets because it was just something my dad threw us out there, see what would happen. And surely enough, it ended up being that my brother and my sister, we all ended up playing hockey, building a rink in the backyard, mainly almost every year until we were probably maybe middle school and stuff. So it became a passion of our entire family when it started out as nothing and from nothing.
That's really interesting. Usually the origin story involves someone, an uncle or a parent, or if you want to be like your older siblings or something like that. So it's really interesting that literally no reason for you to get involved in hockey outside of, hey, you're trying this now. Now, when you think back to those first memories, what were some of the things, outside of, you've shared, skating around with bike helmets and stuff like that, but what are some of those other early memories that you have, especially, with your family?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked, but one of the first memories I ever have playing hockey was the first ever mites game or full ice game that I ever had. My brother and sister weren't playing yet, and my dad drove me up to play my first game like an hour away from home, and I don't know who packed the bag, but somebody forgot the skates. And my first ever full ice game, I was wearing probably 2 or 3 sizes too big of skates from the rink that were just rented and they just gave to me, and I ended up actually scoring my first goal in that game, which is really cool. And I think it's another cool thing that I really always appreciated is that I've had 2 siblings that have pushed me along the way. Having a rink in the backyard and going out there with the 2 of them, and we're all very close in age, has just been really truly an experience. And of course a lot of people have siblings and stuff, but it's something that those memories on the outdoor back rink, just running around skating. We used to have a porch, we'd set up a little fire in the porch, and then we'd get out there and run out there and skate around for hours and hours and hours. And I think that's where it all started. I don't think if we didn't have an outdoor back rink that we probably would have been here. I don't think that without my dad building that, we would not be here at all. Really, truly.
Well, and it sounds as though, because maybe pressure isn't the right word, but I'll use it anyway. Because there wasn't the pressure of someone else in the family already having been in those shoes or those skates, I guess, if we want to keep the analogy alive here. it just sounds like you had a chance to just enjoy it. And from
Mm.
that enjoyment has now led you to where you are now. Is that that's kind of what I'm picking up, but is that kind of how you feel about it as well?
Yeah, I feel like not having, for a lot of people, they do have that pressure you're talking about. Somebody older than them, they're trying to fill the shoes. There was no shoes to fill. There was no expectations whatsoever. I mean, you could ask anybody in my family. There wasn't any expectations to even make it past Jackson, Michigan hockey. I don't think that we thought anything would come of it, and I think that's exactly right. I don't it would not be the same, and it's easy that way though. You think if you really look back and you think about it, you learn to love the game. So often so many kids, adults, and everybody, they forget why they started and where that passion came from, and that there was no pressure, and that's where that passion came from.
Yeah, and that's something that I often hear is that it's when we're talking about advice for the future generation or younger kids or what have you, it's always just remember why you're doing this. But
Hmm.
when you already have that foundation where it's just like I did this because I love it and I
Hmm.
still love it, like it just becomes like it's just innate in how you approach the game. I also want to know though, like looking and even to this day, what are some of those obstacles that you've had to overcome? And from those obstacles or challenges, how do you think it helped to shape you both on and off the ice?
I think one of the biggest ones that's for a lot of, I think, hockey players or just people in general is for me it was the distance. I played hockey in Jackson, Michigan, where I'm from, for until it was check. And then it came that time of my dad was so uncertain of what really girls hockey isn't here. It's not. Honestly anywhere near here. It's really mainly around Detroit and stuff. So it became that, okay, do we do it? Do we not do it? Do we have the resources to do it? Do we have the time to do it? I think one of the biggest obstacles for me growing up was doing the drive, and it wasn't even always just about hockey. It was, when am I going to do homework? Can I live a normal life like my sister and my brother are living? And I think those obstacles allowed me uh to appreciate what I have and to appreciate the time that I get to go to the rink and do those things. Because somebody like my sister and my brother, they didn't get to drive an hour and spend it with their dad or their mom or their friends. They didn't get to go to Little Caesars Arena and play at one of the best, organizations and rinks that there is available. And I think that alone allowed me to grow. It allowed me to push myself even harder, because not only am I spending a lot of time doing it, but my family is. And a lot of people are sacrificing their time, money, and effort in order for me to, make this dream come alive. But at the time, it wasn't a dream. We had, again, no expectations. There was nothing that my family was expecting from any of it. It was honestly, again, just enjoying the game, enjoying what we get to do as a family and get to drive and get to travel. And I think that made it all as much worth it.
Especially now that you're in your collegiate career, how often do you kind of sit back and say to yourself and just appreciate, just like you said, like just the sacrifice that all of your family and everyone made, especially because like you said this wasn't necessarily a career or this wasn't your path. This was
Mhm.
just, hey, you're doing it because you enjoy it, and now
Mhm.
it's turned into something. But when you look back and even in this moment, as you're in your collegiate career, how important has family been? And do you often, like I asked, do you often kind of think about them?
I I am very much so a family oriented person. I think that family drives you. I think that family supports you through hard times. And I think, I have a twin sister, so I think, and I have a brother, a younger brother, but without them, specifically them two, without them, I'm not where I am. My brother, the two of them pushing me and drive, who's better than who's doing this, who's not doing that. And my parents, I think that my parents sacrificed so much in order for not only me to do what I was able to do, but even my siblings. And again, my siblings probably actually made the ultimate sacrifice. I mean, there was countless and countless of time that my parents' time and money went to me playing hockey and me being able to go to Detroit and me being able to go to Canada or go, I went to Europe twice without them, these things don't happen. I don't see in any world where I would be where I am without them. But there's been hard times, but they've always, 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 always stuck by my side and also been hard on me. You gotta be hard on each other. And I think without those two things, I'm not here where I am right now speaking to you at all.
Yeah, and I think it's important to as much as there are those highs, there are those great moments. There are also really difficult moments as well, and with any sort of becoming an athlete in any sort of sport, there are always going to be those sacrifices. But it's great to hear that in spite of those sacrifices, it's obviously driven you to where you are now and the success that you've had both on and off the ice. But kind of keeping in the same in the same vein around family. As you mentioned earlier, you've had the opportunity to play or spend the majority, all of your junior career closer to home. So, what was
Mhm.
that like to be able to do that when a lot of other athletes have to go? Sometimes it's a different state or a different province. Other times it's an entirely different country. What was it like for you to be able to spend, those formative years of your hockey career so close to home?
I think that I'm very, very thankful. I think that, I give a lot of credit to the kids and players that do that because I remember thinking, oh no, I'm about to go to Lindenwood. I can't believe I'm about to leave my family for what seems like such a long time. I cried and I cried and I cried, which again, back to what we just talked about, makes you so thankful for the people that are around you and stuff. And I think that for a lot of people, it makes it easier. There's a lot of less uncomfortability. You can be calm. You can come home from hockey, and there's a sense of home. It's home. And although for a lot of people, hockey is home, I think that living close and stuff allows you to also have completely two different lives, right? If you really think about it, you got one life at home with your friends, your family, and then we've got another life with hockey. And I think that I was able to give my family and parents so much opportunity because it was so close. Not only did I make a lot of friends from it, I think they did, and I think everybody can appreciate that where you see a lot of families, a lot of kids go away, like you said, countries or hours away, and they're no longer right there with their parents, and not only are and their parents aren't right there with them, being able to experience it with them, and I think that was massively a huge part in it too, is being able to have my family experience all the things that I've got to do with me.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's something I had never thought of was that, um, being a hockey parent or a parent of any athlete, I suppose, if you're not experiencing those same things, maybe it doesn't quite resonate the same for you as
Mhm.
to why there's so much passion. But when you're living that life together, it almost brings you closer together, which I mean, further emphasizes your point earlier around how important family is to you and how much that's ingrained in you. That's
Right.
incredible. And speaking of, again, with the two programs that you were a part of, in both the Little Caesars as well as the Honey Baked, what were those programs like for you, and how did they help you to become the player that you are now?
I think I mean, they're two of the best organizations that there is probably around in girls hockey. I think they're actually very vastly different, I think, in the way that they coach and the styles of play, which actually I think benefited me. You got Little Caesars where, I think it's a lot about finesse, the skill side of the game. Whereas Honey Bake, I think, is more of the drive of let's forecheck, back check, we dump, we chase, we go after. I think it allowed me to see both sides of the game, which then, when I got to college and stuff, I was able to understand and know in times which one to do. And I think that being able to come from two very successful programs is also part of the reason why I am successful. There's a lot of players out there that don't get to experience or be a part of such amazing teams and organizations, and it's hard sometimes, and I'm even very fortunate. It's not even just about me, it's about the people that I also play with. I mean, I play with some of the best um, players that there is now in college hockey, and even being able to be coached by some of the best, coaches and people. I think it just made it just as much easy as everything else.
Yeah, and mentioning about how incredible both of those programs are. Um, that comes with a lot of winning, as you mentioned. Winning, um, what did that do for you, especially early on in your career, in terms of building your confidence and kind of like you had mentioned as well, building that skill set that's now made you so successful, and as you've transferred over now to the or transitioned rather to the collegiate level?
I think it's important to build confidence because I feel like when I went from the junior level, AAA, whatever people want to call it, when you walk into college, you have that winning mindset. But you can't have that winning mindset if you don't come from somewhere that wins. But also with winning builds confidence, which then also builds self-confidence and allows you to feel comfortable in the game that you're playing. Coming from those two and then going to a school like Lindenwood, I don't think that I would have had this success that I did at Lindenwood if it wasn't for the confidence and the winning mentality that these two organizations gave me. And I think that it's a massive reason as to why I was very, very successful at Lindenwood. The confidence is probably that's something that I feel like I'm very, very strong and strong suited. So I think it's very important.
How would you say you did when it comes to balancing both being a student as and hopefully being successful there, but also being a successful athlete, and how did that prepare you for college?
I I'm gonna go back to the drive. I'm really gonna go back to the drive. I think the driving to the rink at first, in high school and stuff, not everybody, I mean, I went to a public school and stuff, so I mean, the homework overload is nothing like college. But I think for the first year you feel it out, you miss a few assignments, you miss a few events, and I think once you miss a few, that's when you start planning. And I think that being able to drive and you lose time, you go right from school right to hockey, like many others did. You start to learn how to, well, I've got to do this at this time, and then I've got to do this at this time, so that I can go to practice. And by the time I get home for practice, I can go to bed. Doing that and being able to travel and do it during high school made it so easy in college. It was like you've already done it, and just like so many other people, you've already done it, so it's nothing new, right? You just when you got to do it, you got to do it, and it's got to get done, which I think which it makes college athletes and just athletes in general, it's amazing if you really think about it. It's literally a job. It's literally doing a job every single day, and I think that for all of us that play hockey, it'll set us up for success in some other life once hockey is over.
Well, and it's like, don't downplay it. It's like having two jobs, right? Like,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of pressure that comes with both of those jobs.
Mhm.
So I appreciate that you did find some sort of positive, and it just sounds like you said, it's the exact same. There are a lot of transferable skills. It's just now it's a lot more, a lot heavier in terms of the workload, right? So,
Exactly.
but having that foundation, once again, back to that point, having that foundation is so key. When you think back on your junior career, and we're going to move into college in just a moment, I promise. But when we talk about your junior career, what were some of those moments that stood out to you? And they don't have to necessarily be just, a championship win, which is obviously exciting, but maybe there was something smaller that meant a lot to you. What were some of those moments in junior?
I think one of my favorite moments that will always stick with me was when I was able to go to Europe with my dad. Um, it for me, a lot of it was about hockey, but on the other side, a lot of it wasn't. I'm very driven by what has made me who I am and how that has transformed into who I am as a hockey player. And I think that memory stands out alone just because, again, so many people don't get to experience what we get to experience. My family does it, and I think that that one is a big one. You can't miss the championship ones because those are the best. I remember when I was in 12U, we went to overtime and I scored the game winner. And I think that was a really cool one. You're like 12 and you just all you want to do is get the medal and celebrate, and then you get your water and your spray and your coach. I think those are just, you can't beat those ones. But I've always enjoyed the traveling. I've always been thankful and lucky enough that hockey has brought travel. Who doesn't love to travel? I think it's so unique and cool that us as hockey players and a lot of athletes get to travel doing something we love. And I think those are some of the memories that I'll never forget. I can't name too many specifically, but just the traveling in general, I think were a lot of great memories.
Well, yeah, considering the giant smile you had on your face as you were reflecting on all of those, it shows that it's still something that you remember fondly. And the last question I have, and I promise I won't ask any follow-up questions, but the last question that I have in regards to your junior career, what advice might you give your younger self?
Two things: stay consistent and stay true to yourself. I think that so often as young adults and young kids, we kind of, again, you don't learn to appreciate what you had and what you did until you're older. I wish looking back, I would have been more thankful and been a little bit more consistent, although I was able to be successful. Those two things, I wish when I was younger, somebody would have told me. And if they did, I didn't listen sometimes, obviously, as kids. But those are the two things that I find very important for any young kid that wants to have success is stay consistent and be true to yourself. If you can do those two things, the world's yours.
And I think that's what's great about that advice is it's very transferable. You can even use that now. Any one
Yeah.
of us could use that, whether
Mhm.
you're an athlete or not. So I love that advice. Um, as I mentioned, we're going to now get to current you times.
Mhm.
But we need to start off with understanding why Lindenwood. Why did you choose, like, what went into your decision to attend Lindenwood, and what are some of the things that have stood out to you during your time there?
Well, the biggest thing that my family and I talked about when I was in high school and going into college of where I wanted to play and do my schooling was what do you want out of it? Do you want to be a small fish in a massive pond or a big fish in a small pond? What do you want to leave behind when you leave? And the biggest thing that we, came to conclusion was we want to make the difference. I want to make the difference. I want to be able to walk away from wherever I go and say, I did it. I did it. And I made people better. I've become better. And I've left everything that I had and I changed what was there before me. And I think that Lindenwood made it not an easy decision, but being that it's a smaller school, it's still growing. It's not Penn State, it's not Wisconsin. Um, it made it a place where I could succeed and do exactly what I set out to do. Um, and yeah, I think that's main one that I mean that was one of the big reasons as to why I chose Lindenwood, and I really like the idea of the small school thing. Been able to get to know so many people within the school and stuff, and it's in a very great area, and it's been a blessing to be there, and I think that it's allowed me to be as successful as I have been.
And as I had asked before in regards to just getting into hockey initially, let's talk about challenges. What are some of the challenges that you've had to overcome in making that transition now? Big step into the NCAA. And just like before, how has it shaped you?
I think the biggest step first was me getting there and not missing my family too much. I think that one I'll always go back to. I mean, being able to adapt in a new place, a new environment. You're now, so I talked about how close I was with my family, how important it was, and here I am now setting out on an adventure of I'm by myself. I don't have my family that's 10 minutes away. It's 7 hours away, and the people are further, and I'm still lucky that it's only 7 hour drive, but I think that it allowed me to grow, and it allowed me to bring everything that I had practiced when I was younger and everything that's when I started to really appreciate and understand how lucky I was and how thankful I was to have such a close family. And those first couple weeks at school were just, to be completely blunt, were awful. I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm so far away from my family. I'm away from my twin sister. I can't get it together." And then you start worrying about hockey, and then like, "Oh, am I good enough? Am I gonna do this or I'm not gonna do that?" But that's when you go back to that thing the idea we talked about earlier of that winning, kind of how the confidence that it brings you, and it allows you to feel kind of powerful in a way. It kind of allows you to be powerful in a way and know that you can do it, that it is going to be okay, that no matter what happens, your family's still right there. No matter what happens, you still prepared yourself for however many years. Now let's just accomplish it and let's just go get it done, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to know, how did it feel for you to, in spite of the fact that you were away from home, that you were certainly away from that support system that you had relied upon for your entire junior career, how great did it feel to be able to look and say, like, hey, look at what I was able to do by myself? Like, how great was that?
It's it's a blessing in disguise. I think that, my sister lives at home, my brother lives at home, and it's just, again, I'm like so thankful that I've been able to experience it. And your family works towards all of this, and um nobody in my family has ever moved away or lived away from home. And you learn, again, I'll go back to it a million times again. You learn to appreciate what you really have in your life. And I think doing that and having that really allowed me to appreciate what I do have. And I think that it made it very, very, very easy to, once I got comfortable in the environment, it made it very easy to be successful, because you knew that one call away, you had your family. And then, not only that, but you have all your teammates, which us as athletes and college athletes are so lucky. We have 26 built-in best friends that we get to see constantly. Without them, I can't be as successful as I was. And it's just another layer of why sports are awesome and why it's so amazing to be able to play a college sport.
And, you've mentioned it a few times, but with confidence comes success. And I don't think this conversation would be complete if we don't bring up the fact that you were nominated for an incredible award in the NCAA, being the Patty Kazmaier. Um, I know that this is a team sport and that you are where you are because of your teammates. So I don't want to necessarily get into specifics when it comes to the award. Although, again, I'd
Mhm.
be remiss if I didn't say congratulations, because that's an incredible honor.
Thank you.
Um, but I also want to know for you, what did that mean for you, especially as you've now had the opportunity to kind of reflect on your career and where you are now? What did that mean to you?
I think it's amazing. It's something that when you look back, you think, "Oh, wow, I've done it." Like we talked about when my young days and stuff, there was no expectation. To be honest, there was no dreams. There was no dreams of, "Oh, I can't, I want to do this and I want to do that." Again, I'm just there loving what I'm doing, right? I had no expectations even coming into college of, besides, I want to make a difference. And being able to do that, though, allowed me to get nominated for that. And I think that it makes a world of a difference. And it wouldn't it's I'm very thankful to, I was nominated for the award and stuff. It's something that so many kids and girls, and they dream of. They dream of these things. And I'm very thankful that I even was even thought of for it, honestly.
And it's amazing. And we keep coming back to it, but it's just that you did this just because you love it, and you're
Mhm.
here because you love it. You weren't necessarily pushed into doing it. And look at the success that you've had when you just get to do something that you
Mhm.
absolutely love and you have a family who absolutely supports you every step of the way, even when sometimes it may not feel like they're supporting you, they're
Right.
always there, right? Um,
Exactly.
so, when now that you're embarking on your collegiate career and hopefully a very long pro career afterwards, we're seeing a real movement here when it comes to women in sports in general, but especially women's hockey. Being up here in Canada, I was able to watch my very first NCAA game. I watched the Northeastern Boston University Beanpot. That's not
Mm.
something that has always we've had the opportunity to experience,
Mhm.
especially at the collegiate level. What does it mean to you, especially because you're in it? What does it
Uh-huh.
mean to you to have to see this growth in women's hockey and exposure from the beginning of your college career to even just right now?
I think that it's amazing. You look back when you were a little kid and you're playing with all these boys. A lot of us girls that are in this environment that you're talking about right now are the girls that when we were young, were playing with a bunch of boys. And I think the coolest part about it now is that so many of these young girls that are maybe afraid or don't want to get to see so many other women doing it, and they get to help them do it. And there's actually girls teams that are forming from it and stuff. And you're seeing women's hockey in places that you would have never thought would even be a place. You're seeing the NCAA growing, which never would have thought that would happen. You're seeing the PWHL growing. People would have never thought that happened. I think it's so cool, and it speaks so highly on women and how powerful they are and what they do and how hard they work for it. And I'm very, very thankful to be a part of it because when you think about it, it's like no matter who you are, what level, D3, D1, whatever it is, PWHL, not PWHL, we all get to be a part of this growth. And how cool is that? You get to walk away and say, I was a part of an age group or a time maybe that women's hockey and women's sports in general was growing, and I was a part of it. And I got to help continue it by helping these little girls that weren't there when we were there. I think it's amazing.
Well, and you just alluded to it, so I'm gonna ask it. So you growing up, as you've mentioned, there weren't really role models or female hockey players that you could look up to, that you could emulate or maybe strive to be or like envision one day playing with. Now there are, and
Mhm.
you're in that group of individuals in which the younger generation are going to be looking to and saying, I want to be like Morgan Neitzke.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you to have to be in that role model kind of space, especially knowing that you didn't have that growing up as well?
Like I said, I honestly think it's amazing. It makes you I go back I'll go and I've gone back to you're thankful, right? Like you're very I'm very thankful that I get to now, there's little girls that come to our games and we're doing these little camps and we're going to skate with them. They're at the rink now. And just even looking at us, they're so excited. It's like, oh my gosh, like and there's one girl that comes to every single one of our games and I've gotten to know her, and she's just so excited. And we didn't have that. I think that although a lot of us didn't have it, it was part of the reason why we were able to grow and succeed and go through those hardships. But now we get to help the next generation, and we get to change what somebody wasn't changing when we were there, and I think that that's powerful in itself. And I think it's so cool. It's something that I want to continue to be a part of, and I want to help them little girls that think that this dream is just it's so impossible and they can't do it. You can do it because there's so many resources now, there's so many tools, there's so many people. It's getting marketed, it's amazing. And I'm so blessed to be a part of it.
I feel like there might be moments in which you kind of pinch yourself and ask yourself, is
Mhm.
this real? Is this really
Right.
happening? Because it's incredible.
Mhm.
Um, you kind of answered it, but I want to ask it more directly. In you know your time with Lindenwood, you're now a part of that leadership team,
Mhm.
and I want to know, anytime I get a chance to speak with somebody who is a leader on the team. Obviously, everyone is, and I get that. But literally, specifically to you, you are a leader on that team. I always like to ask what leadership means to you.
I'm the type of person that if you would have asked my freshman year, in your senior year, will you be a captain or anything? I would have looked at you and said, no, absolutely not. No. And I think it even goes back to what we were just talking about, how powerful women are. If it wasn't for, um, many people through my 3 years before I was a leader, I wouldn't be where I am. And I think it's allowed me to grow as a person in so many different ways because you learn to understand and listen and kind of see a different perspective of honestly the game. I never understood or knew how much it took and what it meant to be a leader and a captain until I was in it. I feel like I found a different side of the game that not everybody gets to see. You're talking about, someone's banging up on your goalie and stuff, and you go in there and you're protecting your goalie and you think about it in a different way because you want to then now show those younger kids that were yourself that never thought it would be possible that you can do it and that it is you can do it absolutely. And I'm very, very thankful, and I am very appreciative of all those people that helped me get to that point because it's made me a better person and hockey player.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, in being a leader, how that's shaped. We can maybe say on the ice because I think there's some value in learning about that. But I think also, let's like take a bit of a deep dive here and how that's shaped you off the ice. I want to know about that as well.
I will be the first to admit growing up and for the very long time, I've always been sometimes not a good listener. I think becoming a captain and becoming a very big part of the leadership group on our team at Lindenwood, I learned how to listen very quickly, which translated to, outside of the rink, also learning how to listen and learning how to appreciate and understand. And the big thing for me this year was putting myself and others putting themselves in other people's shoes, understanding and knowing what other people are going through and how can I or they help somebody else, even sometimes just get through a day. It's something simple as that I think being a leader allowed me to grow and understand what others are going through and how can I help them and how can I just be the best person and friend to anybody around me. So I think that's really what I learned on the outside.
Want to Before we get to the fun rapid fire question segment of the show, I want
Mhm.
to ask you, as someone from Michigan, yes, we've established that they've had such great programs and there's such great hockey there in Michigan.
Mhm.
With the growth and exposure and explosion that is women's hockey, how excited are you thinking back to your roots at the prospect of seeing even more and more incredibly talented young girls come out of Michigan and follow in your footsteps?
I think it's cool. I go back to even when I was young and stuff. I felt like there was literally no girls hockey players within an hour of me. I mean, it's insane, and I think that it speaks upon like even what we were just talking about, how we've been able to help and show these girls that it is possible and you can do it. And I think being from Michigan stuff, being one of the bigger places where hockey is, wherever you want to talk, like came from or hockey's growing in, I think that it's really cool that I can look back and say, oh well, yeah, I'm from Michigan. Well, yeah, I played at Little Caesars, or I played at Honey Bake. I think that it's amazing. And all of these girls that are in at these AAA programs and stuff look at a lot of these college rosters or look at the Instagram or the NCAA and they see, oh, well, this person's from Honey Baked or they're from Little Caesars, and that's a driver itself. That it can be done, and that the organization itself is successful, and that there is a future for all them young girls, and it's very powerful.
I'm going to now transition to the rapid fire question segment of the
Hmm.
show. Now, it's rapid fire only because this is my reminder to not ask so many follow-up questions. You take
Mhm.
as much time as you want to take in answering these questions. I'm just going to try not to ask any follow-up questions. Are you ready to take the quiz?
Let's do it. Let's
Okay,
do it.
fantastic. What is you? This is going to be a hard-hitting question. What's your go-to pregame meal?
Any type of pasta. Any type of pasta.
Uh, Shoot, now I realize I can't ask any follow-up questions, but I'm going to ask. Is there any? Do you have any sauce on it, or is it just straight up pasta?
I like any type of meat sauce. Any type of meat sauce.
What is your favorite cheat meal, or snack or treat that you
Mm.
like to give yourself?
Mm. Who doesn't love a good pizza after a game?
Oh yeah, now you're definitely speaking my language. I appreciate that. What's your, or rather, do you have any superstitions or pregame rituals?
None, none whatsoever. I am totally
Ooh, okay.
the type of person that just very flowy. Whatever needs to be done that day gets done that day. If I need to do this, I'll do that. If I need to do this, I'll do that. Absolutely no superstitions or rituals at all.
Kind of nice that way because then you don't get in your own head. You can just kind of be in
Exactly.
the moment. I like it.
You just
Okay.
do it.
Yeah. Go to pump up song.
Whatever music's playing, I'm ready to go. I've honestly never had one. Maybe Eye of the Tiger when I was younger. I don't know if it was my pump up song or it was my dad's pump up song for my game. Not really quite sure which one it was, but I don't have one.
On game day, who owns the ox in the dressing room?
Me.
Oh, okay. What do you play? That's great. Fantastic. What do you play? Or is there like a group playlist, or do you have some go-tos yourself?
We're big in the SoundCloud. We're big into any type of the mixes. A lot of times between like the periods and stuff, we'll put on a lot of people like throwbacks and stuff. A little bit, not much country, a little bit of rap here and there. I honestly sometimes just give away my phone and whatever comes up, comes up. People just come and pick.
Yeah, I that doesn't surprise me. What's one thing that people may not know about you?
I think the twin one's good. I think that unless you're on my team or you're around me, not many people know. Either a funny story, quick story is that one time I was playing at Little Caesars. We were playing against Honeybake, so obviously a rival. My sister came in, and the Honeybake team thought that I wasn't playing or injured or something because my sister was in the stands. But then I showed up on the ice, and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute!" And then they found out I had a twin. So I think not unless you're close to me, you don't know I have a twin.
Oh, that's great. And that's hilarious because they probably were like, "Oh, thank goodness she isn't playing." And then it's this, so they got excited that you weren't playing, and then they were so disappointed when they saw you take the ice.
Right?
I like that. It's a good tactic there, a good scare tactic. I like it. Works in your favor. What's one word that your teammates might use to describe you?
Confident. I think confidence is a good one. I think that if someone had, yeah, confident, I think is the perfect one. I know what I'm doing. I trust what I'm doing. And I mean, sometimes I fail, but I'm very confident in what I do. And I have learned that throughout my years of playing.
Yeah, and that's been a common theme throughout our conversation today. So I would definitely second that.
Yeah.
Lastly, what is something that remains on your bucket list?
I would love to go to Greece. I want to go to Greece. I haven't been there. That's my bucket list. Someday I will be going to Greece. Not sure when, but that's a big one. I want to travel. I love traveling.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that earlier, so I guess I should have known that that might be your answer. Now,
Mm,
for real though, this is going to be the last question. Why
yeah,
Greece?
it's beautiful there. Then you get to hike, you can see beautiful water, you can swim if you want, you get to hike, you can do everything.
Oh, well, and it's good food too, so that's a nice plus there. And I want to say thank you to you, Morgan, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join the show, to share your story, and to just be so awesome and insightful and honest. It's been an absolute blast. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with all your fellow hockey fans. It really does help grow the show and bring you more incredible stories like this one from around the world of women's hockey. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Rinkside Rundown. Cheers.